I'd like to call the Harrisburg Planning Commission meeting to order at approximately 6:30. Commissioners, you received your minutes from May 1st, 2024. Are there any corrections, additions, deletions? Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second for approval of the minutes as they are. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Motion carried.
Abstain.
Oh, one abstention. Sorry about that. Under old business, there is none. Under new business, item number 1 is a variance application for 2201 North Front Street. Is zone RF is filed by 2201 NFS LLC, and that's to construct a freestanding sign taller than 4 feet 9 inches and larger than 16.4 square feet than permitted by right. Staff?
Yes, so the applicant is requesting the construction of a freestanding sign taller than permitted by right, 4 3/4 feet versus 4 feet, and also larger than permitted by right, 16.4 square feet by 8 square versus 8 square feet. The property at 2201 North Front Street is a 0.88 acre lot with a 3-story, 29,381 square foot structure, which was constructed in 1924. While the project site is comprised of 6 total parcels, the subject property is the only one relevant to the request. It is bounded by 2225 North Front Street to the north. The property is at 2200 to 2218 North 2nd Street to the east, Woodbine Street to the south, and North Front Street to the west. This limestone masonry detached structure, the King Mansion, features elements of the late classical revival or neoclassical architectural style. It was originally designed by noted architect Frank Gordon Fonistock Jr. for Horace King and his family. Character-defining features include the limestone masonry exterior, Mediterranean-inspired architectural features throughout, the large covered front porch and second-floor balcony, the porte cochere on the northern elevation, the large covered second-floor porch on the northern elevation, the prominent dormers on the front and side elevations, the red clay roofing tiles, and the substantial stone chimneys. The new elevator tower and building entrance is currently being constructed in the northeastern corner. The main front entrance features arched divided light double doors, each with 12 panes set within a wooden frame, which mirrors the 3 sets of doors and transoms of similar design on either side that provide access from the interior of the building to the large front porch. There's a side entrance accessed from Woodbine Street that features paneled double doors in a simple wooden frame. Other access points to the building feature more utilitarian entrance designs. There are windows of varying sizes and configurations, but fenestration primarily includes divided light windows with side lights and or transoms on the first and second floors. The large third-floor dormers feature divided light windows set in simple wooden frames, large and small dentils, and substantial pediments topped with red clay roofing tiles. Property features a 76-space service parking lot on the northern portion of the site, which provides parking for tenants of the building, and an expansive front lawn enclosed by a 4-foot-high metal fence with masonry piers and landscape screening. There's a detached garage at the rear of the property that has the same facade appearance and roofing materials as the main structure. The structure has substantial historic and architectural value and contributes significantly to the character of the neighborhood and streetscape along North Front Street. The Planning Bureau recommends that the request be approved with the following conditions. The applicant must submit the requisite floodplain development permit application for the proposed sign and accompanying fence and wall elements and receive approval from the floodplain administrator. The applicant must ensure that the signage itself, as determined by the location of the lettering on the sign structure, is located at least 5 feet from the public right-of-way along North Front Street. Planning Bureau staff recommends the request be approved for the following reasons. The applicant has provided substantial statistical support for the proposed signage based on nationally recognized standards and with a focus on ensuring safe access by those traveling to the property along North Front Street. The zoning relief requests necessary for the installation of the proposed signage are generally minimal and non-intrusive in nature and do not involve aspects such as internal illumination or electronically changing messages, which might have adverse impacts on adjacent properties to the north. Proposed signage is also designed in a complementary manner to the property aesthetics and the riverfront context and does not produce detrimental impacts on the surrounding neighborhood. And the site currently features minimal signage identifying the property or the uses thereon. The proposed sign will be more visible to the general public and will improve site safety and accessibility for both visitors and guests and passersby.
Thank you, Jeff. Could you state your name, address, and relationship to the project?
Absolutely, Chairman. My name is Esh McCombie. I'm an attorney with McNeese, Wallace & Nurick, 100 Pine Street, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We represent the applicant, 2201 NFS LLC, and with me is Mark Karowski with the applicant.
You can introduce yourself.
Good evening. Mark Karowski, I'm the owner, president, CEO of 2201 NFS LLC.
Okay, you gentlemen heard the staff report. Are you acceptable of the conditions?
We are.
Okay. Did you want to add anything to the report?
I always come with a nice packet to hand out and walk everybody through, but Jeff did a great job covering everything, so we're happy to answer any questions the Planning Commission might have.
Okay. Commissioners, at this time, I have no questions, and I'll start with you if you have any questions or concerns. Commissioner McKenzie?
No specific concerns, but I would want to understand a little bit more how we were measuring the sign area itself. If one looks at the wall that goes with it, it looks like it's maybe 150, 200 square feet in size.
Yep, the sign area is measured a rectangle around all of the letters pursuant to the ordinance, and so that's how we came up with the 16.4 feet where 8 feet is allowed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just wanted that for the record.
Commissioner O'Toole?
Yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward. Every time we have a signing issue, I express my feelings that our signing restrictions are way too restrictive anyhow, so I have no problem with this.
Commissioner Reed?
I have no questions.
Okay. Commissioner Jordan?
Just one question. Just for clarification, it looks like from the design that this is not an internally illuminated sign, correct?
That's
okay. How were you going to ensure that the sign could be seen from the 230 feet at night?
So we are looking at signs for illumination, which if we do, it would just probably be a singular spotlight at the base. Certainly, if we do provide something like that, we can provide Mr. Knight a copy of any photometric plans to show that we're compliant with ordinance requirements.
Great, thank you.
Joe?
I have no questions, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public for or against this project? I'll start at the center and to my right. Okay, there's no concerns there. Commissioners, this is pretty straightforward. Can I get a motion? Okay.
How are you handling the floodplain aspect of that? Just curious, that professional curiosity as much as anything.
Sure. I think that was Jeffrey referenced as one of the conditions. We have to provide the floodplain development permit. Typically what we've done, we'll actually include there's some fencing reconfiguration that happens in conjunction with this. Because the fencing's passed through, because we're in such a broad space, we don't have, I professionally would offer my opinion that it's not something where I get concerned with debris being caught. Plus our floodplain depth is relatively shallow in that location. So nothing that should be anything that results in a rise of flood.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other concerns? If not, could I get a motion?
Motion to approve
I'll second that.
with
Yes,
with the two conditions listed, yeah.
Okay. It's been moved and second for approval of this project with the conditions. All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
The second item on the agenda is a variance and special exception application for 1849 Whitehall Street. It's in zone RM. It's followed by, and he's going to have to help me with his name, Zapid. Could you state your name?
Zahid Alizada.
Yeah, okay, thank you. With ZAC Penn Group LLC. It's associated with the conversion of the existing structure to a 3-unit multifamily dwelling, including relief from the development standards and off-street parking requirements. Staff?
Yes, so the applicant is proposing the conversion of the existing structure to a multifamily dwelling. It's really kind of a reversion. It was multiple units at one point in the past, but has experienced about a couple decades of vacancy. So it reverts to the underlying zoning designation. And this includes relief from the development standards, I believe specifically the density regulations, and the off-street parking requirements. For 3 units, they'd be required to provide 4 spaces, and there's a 3-space parking lot at the rear of the property. The property at 1849 Whitehall Street is a 0.09 acre lot featuring a 3-story, 3,144 square foot structure, which was constructed circa 1900. Property is bounded by Whitehall Street to the north, 1851 Whitehall Street to the east, Regina Street to the south, and the property at 1847 Whitehall Street to the west. This attached structure features elements of the Second Empire architectural style. Character-defining features include the varied facade treatments, including brick, stucco, and insul brick siding, the brownstone water table, the full-width porch with fluted square columns and a substantial cornice with pediment, the second-floor oriel windows, the substantial addition with 3-story metal fire escape on the rear elevation, and the mansard roof with real slate shingles and 5 dormers. The main entrance features a wooden door with a small pane flanked by a simple side light and topped with a simple transom featuring the property address. It is accessed by a deep wooden porch and concrete steps. There are secondary entrances accessible via the fire escape on the rear elevation, which appear to feature panel doors of varying materiality. Fenestration also includes windows in a variety of sizes and shapes. All of the windows appear to be in a 1/1 configuration. All of the basement windows are boarded up. There are 10 windows on the front elevation, 10 windows on the eastern elevation, 8 windows on the western elevation, and 12 windows on the rear elevation. The mansard roof features 5 dormers, which feature substantial pediments, brackets, and decorative woodwork. The structure is otherwise topped with a flat rubber roof. Although the structure is significantly deteriorated, the architectural style, design elements, and building massing are reproduced in many of the other structures along the block. As such, the building reflects the diverse nature of properties on its block and thus contributes to the architectural and historic character of the streetscape. The Planning Bureau staff recommends the request be approved with the following conditions. If granted zoning approval to move forward with the project as proposed, the applicant shall allow the Codes Bureau to perform a comprehensive inspection to identify all outstanding code violations and receive approval for all necessary city permits prior to receiving a certificate of occupancy. The applicant will also coordinate with the Department of Public Works to ensure that the account billing is updated to reflect the proposed change in use. Planning Bureau staff recommends the request be approved for the following reasons. The special exception request for the proposed use is warranted by the history of the property, the presence of other such converted apartment buildings in the immediate neighborhood, and the recent zoning hearing board approval of a similar proposal at a nearby property with similar existing conditions. The request for relief from off-street parking is warranted by the existing 3-space accessory parking lot at the rear of the property and the on-street parking available along the frontage of the property with Whitehall Street. The project will result in the rehabilitation and restoration of a large residential property directly across from Reservoir Park, improving not only the condition of the block, but the overall appearance of the neighborhood at a high visibility site. Finally, as opposed to other such conversions in recent years, which have proposed the establishment of 1-bedroom or studio units, the current project will create 3 2-bedroom units, adding to the multi-bedroom inventory in the city, which is in high demand.
Thank you, Jeff. Could you state your name and address and relationship to the project?
Zahid Alizada. My address is 2858 Stillwell Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. I am a founder, one of the partners at the ZAC PEM Group. Chris is my another partner. And John is also
Could
my
the
partner.
other gentleman?
Christopher
please?
Torres, I'm one of the founders of the company.
And your address?
2155 Jefferson Street, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, zip code 17110.
Okay, the gentleman behind you.
My name is Artem Nedobor. I'm one of the partners. I live in 99 Battery Place, New York, New York.
Okay, thank you. You gentlemen heard the staff report with the 2 conditions. Are you acceptable with those conditions? Do you accept the
Yes.
the condition? Did you want to add anything to the report?
No, everything that Jeff told was clear. Yeah.
Okay. I don't have a specific question, but looking at this property, it looks like you're going to have to put a lot of money into it. It's pretty beat up.
Yes, sir.
And I guess you figured that out.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioners, that's the only thing I have so far. Do you have any concerns or anything? And I'll start with Commissioner McKenzie.
No concerns, just commend you for, bringing the building back to life there, because this is one of those ones, there's old buildings and good old buildings, and sometimes it's hard to tell which is which, so good luck.
Yes, thank you. Oh,
Commissioner O'Toole?
Yeah, any idea when the property was last occupied?
we have no idea. We think it has been left unoccupied for several decades probably.
Okay.
But we are not sure, when
Yeah.
last time was occupied.
Yeah, judging from its appearance, I'm in favor of anything you want to do to it, so. Yeah. It worked out for you. Good luck, though. I wish you well.
We will bring it back to life. That's-
Commissioner Reed?
Just one question. Will these be fair market rent properties? Fair market rent? Will
Fair-
they be fair market rent properties?
Yes.
Yes,
yeah, of course.
Fair market.
Oh, okay.
as opposed to low
Yeah, yeah,
income
yeah,
or?
of course, yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner Jordan?
No questions.
And Joe?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Is there anyone from the public for or against this project? I'll start in the middle and to my right. So there's no one there. Commissioners, could I get a motion?
I move to approve the conditions as stated.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second for approval of the project with the conditions. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Good luck.
Thank you.
Like I said,
Thank you.
hope you guys make out well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, this is item number 3. This is a variance and special exception for 1103 South Front Street, which is zone RF. It's followed by Justin Kerman with tunnel to Towers Foundation. It's associated with the construction of a transitional housing development featuring a 60-unit multifamily dwelling and 20 detached comfort homes for residents. Jeff?
Yes, so the applicant is proposing to construct a transitional housing development for homeless veterans featuring 2 types of housing accommodations along with associated site and access improvements. Project includes a mixed-use building with tenant services and community functions on the first floor and 60 units on the 2 floors above, and 20 detached comfort homes for residents elsewhere on the property. The project requires zoning hearing board approval of a special exception for a use not specifically prohibited in the zoning code per section 7-30311B of the zoning code, and a variance application for buildings shorter than the 36-foot minimum height outlined in section 7-307.3A of the zoning code. Property at 1103 South Front Street is a 15-acre lot, which is largely vacant, although it still retains some of the building foundations and site infrastructure from when the property accommodated a steel mill. Currently, it accommodates a critical connection of the capital area greenbelt, but little else in the way of development or active uses. The property is bounded by the property at 1101 South Front Street to the north, railroad tracks to the east, the property at 1105 South Front Street to the south, and the Susquehanna River to the west. The Planning Bureau staff recommends the request be approved with the following conditions. If granted zoning approval to move forward with the project as proposed, the applicant shall submit a subdivision and land development plan approval for approval from the Planning Commission and City Council. While the applicant notes that the comfort homes will be capable of being ADA compliant, the Planning Bureau recommends that they be constructed to visitable standards at a minimum, with allowances for full conversion to ADA accessibility in the future. The applicant should continue their coordination with the Capital Area Greenbelt Association regarding the retention of the greenbelt across the property. This will retain a recreational amenity for the community at large, will provide a walking, biking route for residents to connect to the surrounding community and the city overall. As the applicant notes, many will not own vehicles, and will maintain an ecological buffer along the river. Based on the proposed site design, the Planning Bureau would recommend that the applicant incorporate a portion of the greenbelt across the southern boundary of the property, connecting the existing bridge over the railroad tracks to the emergency access road along the western boundary of the property. Planning Bureau recommends that the applicant install the required bicycle parking in the ghost parking spaces fronting the mixed-use building or near the main entrance and be sheltered if possible. Residents of the Comfort Homes can store their bikes in their units. And finally, the Planning Bureau recommends that the applicant coordinate with the city arborist regarding required landscaping and trees on site and consider installing native plants and pollinator plants in landscaped areas throughout the site generally, and more specifically around the proposed stormwater detention basins. Planning Bureau staff recommends the request be approved for the following reasons. The proposed project will meet a critical need, housing for homeless individuals, and will specifically target a group, veterans, who are disproportionately represented in the homeless population. Will provide quality, accessible units that improve their standard of living, and will introduce a housing approach that may be a template for future projects. The project represents a continuation of recent development projects in this area intended to provide accommodations and services for those experiencing homelessness. And finally, if the recommended conditions of approval are adopted, the proposed project will result in improvements to the site and will provide benefits to the greater public welfare, including formalized access for greenbelt users, improved trail conditions, and maintenance of existing natural and ecological buffers.
Thank you, Jeff. Could you state your name, address, and relationship to the project?
Certainly. Excuse me. I'm Bruce Grossman, attorney for the applicant from Caldwell and Kearns, 3631 North Front Street in Harrisburg. Accompanying me is Mr.
The
Luis.
gentleman state his name and
Luis Menendez from Tunnel to Towers Foundation. I am the Director of Construction for the Homeless Veterans Program, and I reside at 70 Oakwood Avenue in Upper Montclair, New Jersey.
I'm Justin Holcomb. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for the Foundation, address 5488 Clonmel Court, Alexandria, Virginia. Thank you.
Okay. Again, the gentleman heard the staff report, and are you acceptable of the conditions?
First of all, I want to commend the report. It's very thorough and very detailed. And with the resources that the Bureau has, I'm very, very pleased with the report and grateful for it. All of the conditions are accepted with certain qualifications, such as to the parking, the bicycle parking, they definitely will consider bicycle parking, but if they can eliminate more impervious surface, they would like to do that rather than putting it where parking was. So they will certainly consult with and provide bicycle parking and storage. It may not be exactly what Jeff has mentioned in his report. And as far as the coordinating with the city arborist, they are anxious to install and landscape, particularly around any stormwater facilities that have to be on the property.
Okay. Jeff, any?
No, we'd be fine if the applicants wanted to have interior secure bike storage, for example, within the mixed-use building as opposed to outdoor racks. So, that's certainly an aspect of the project that we can coordinate on, prior to the submission of a land development plan, for example. And then with respect to the coordination with the city arborist, I'd defer to the city arborist's expertise on these issues, and whatever they feel is appropriate, we would be supportive of.
Okay. Are these houses are similar to the project they just opened up? Are they built in that type of way?
No, the Veterans Outreach of Pennsylvania project, now named Veterans Grove, has 15 tiny homes that have very limited cooking, for instance, cooking facilities in them, and they're much smaller. Mr. Menendez can better describe the comfort homes and the intention of them.
So our distinction is that our homes are larger. We are at approximately 500 square foot unit. Our footprint is a little bit larger, is more conducive to permanent living, where each home has its own separate living room, central kitchen area with a bathroom, and a separate private bedroom. So within that 500 foot footprint, we're able to accommodate a complete single unit for permanent living.
Okay. And my other, I won't say a concern, but did you talk to the community in that area at all?
Yes, sir. And I just wanted to thank the city of Harrisburg. They've been very welcoming to us so far. Our partners and friends over here at VOPA, we were happy to attend their ribbon cutting last week. But, part of this process is to integrate with the city of Harrisburg and make sure that everything we do is in adherence to what the city wishes. So far, we're off to a really good start, and we're excited to be here tonight. And hopefully, we can move on to the next step. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm more stating more specifically for the Shy Poke residents.
As to the Shy Poke Association, we've been trying to arrange, just get our schedules together. We have reached out to them for an appointment and when they can have a group together to meet with us. So we have initiated contact with them.
Okay, because we, as a commission, always feel the community should be involved.
We understand, and they are reaching out to them and other community groups when they can.
Okay. Commissioners, those are my two concerns so far. And I'll start with Commissioner Kensick. Any concerns there?
The first would just be a kind of a question of you. I haven't really heard of your organization before. Can you give just a brief history of how long you've been in business, where you were established? You know, where
I just want to test it. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yep. So just very quickly, again, thank the commission for tonight. We're founded on September 11, 2001, the night of. Our founder, Frank Siller's youngest brother, Stephen Siller, was a firefighter. He was getting off duty the night before, and he was on his way to Long Island to play golf with his brothers. They were supposed to meet him there. The first plane hit the World Trade Center. He turned his car around, parked it outside the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, ran to the tunnel, to the towers, where he perished that day. Hence our foundation, Tunnel to Towers.
Okay.
Since then, we've been building homes and real estate for catastrophically injured veterans and their families throughout the country. Actually have a lot of work we've done in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania so far. Got a one-pager on that I can leave with you. But bring us to present day, about 2 years ago, the homeless veteran crisis in our country continues to rise. There's around 33,000 in our country now. We wanted to attack that head on. We're building real estate, apartment buildings throughout the country, affordable housing to tackle this issue. That's why we're here tonight, and we're excited. And again, want to answer all your questions and concerns. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's good information. The second question is, how will the two types of housing work separately or work together? What's in the tower versus, is one more of a, the 64 units, is that more of a, I don't know, called convalescent or nursing or care type facilities, or is it the multi-story building?
Yeah, it's just a multi-story building. The units are a little bit smaller. They're roughly 400 square feet, 390 thereabouts. They are permanent residents as well.
Okay.
The difference between the units in the building and the comfort home is that the comfort homes are offered to veterans, senior veterans, veterans that are 55 and over, who for some reason or other have spent most of their lives in some sort of transitional homelessness condition. And so we afford them these homes so that they can live in dignity and spend the rest of their lives there. So these are awarded to specific veterans.
So they're a permanent type
they are
residents.
permanent. They can live there the rest of their lives. So these are more geared towards the older veteran, where the veteran that's going to reside in the multi-story building, you can stay as long as you have to. You can be here permanently if you want to. But our goal is to have them transition out of there at some point after they've been in this environment. They've made a commitment to better themselves. They've made a commitment to reintegrate into society. And our hope is that they're able to move on into a more permanent accommodations on their own.
Okay, well, that helps make sense of what's going on there. Last question would be, are you in association with any local-based groups or state-based groups for providing, support services and things like that, or is that something that you operate yourselves? I mean,
Well, our ground floor, as far as service, you said faith-based groups. When we do go into a community, we do outreach to the local community, churches, different organizations that want to participate. For example, one of our projects in Houston, the local community took us in the sense that they wanted to participate in some of our local programs that they have during the holidays, where they would want it to come in and serve the veterans, right? The residents, give them a meal, help them out during the holiday season. That's something that we welcome. And so we do have opportunities, like with VOPA. This is something that's very important to us, to collaborate with their organization. They are more of a transitional program, where once those veterans get themselves on their feet, we're there to receive them at a more permanent basis.
Okay. No other questions?
Commissioner Reed? I'm sorry, Commissioner O'Toole.
No. Jeffrey, this is in the flood zone, correct?
So portions of the western part of the property along the river are in, but I don't believe the boundary extends past the emergency access road that's there now.
Okay.
And there's a small portion along the east side of the property as well that I believe is largely over the footprint of the new stormwater management basin that's being created along the access road that's been created there, as well as the access road itself. So looking at the floodplain overlay with the at least tentative building footprints here, I didn't see that any of the development would be in the floodplain. Maybe some of the fence around the border of the property, but that's a relatively straightforward review if necessary.
All right, well, that's a good thing then. What other projects do you have in Pennsylvania right now?
This is our first project in Pennsylvania. So this is our prototype that we've been developing for the last 3 years, 2-3 years. And so it's being rolled out not only in Harrisburg, but we've got a similar project in Bradenton, Florida, where we were deeded a few 8 acres to develop a similar development. So we call them veteran villages.
All right.
It's the main piece is the multi-story building, like I said, with our services on the ground floor to support the village. So with the main building, the multi-story, and the housing around it creates the village. So we've got projects in Bradenton, Florida. We just started development and projects in Bayville, New Jersey. We are out in Buffalo, New York, and soon to be. And we've got a different type of project in Memphis, which is our other component, or development component, which is acquiring non-functioning properties, similar to a Wyndham Hotel or such, that we renovate and convert into a similar multi-story building. So those are the 2 different types of projects. Either we grow from full development, or we do a renovation. But this particular model is something that is special in the sense that we're creating that village that we're seeking to create for the tenants.
But that is not the only contact that the foundation has with the town of Pennsylvania. Mr. Holcomb can explain more.
Yes. Over the past 20 years, it looks like we've built 9 homes for fallen first responders, 4 for Gold Star families, and we've built 3 smart homes for catastrophically injured veterans. Right now, we support, through our National Case Management Network, 118 Pennsylvanians, separate from our Veterans Village that we're about to produce. And I'd be happy to leave you one of these, sir.
Yeah, and just to clarify, this is just one specific program. What Jason just was talking about is other programs that we have within the overall T2T organization.
All right. Yeah, no further questions.
Commissioner Reed?
Commissioner McKissick asked most of my questions, but one thing I wasn't clear on, that's okay, you had 3 of them. What transitional services do you provide? What services do you provide? Social services or?
Well, as far as services are concerned, anything that they need to get themselves right, get themselves back into the position where they can begin to rehabilitate themselves. We deal with PTSD to a certain extent. We deal with substance abuse to a certain extent. And I mean by a certain extent that if the cases are beyond our capabilities to deal in this environment, we do not want to have a stable environment and then bring in someone who may need additional help, we will help those individuals transition into a program that better fits their needs. We also provide workforce training. We provide services for them to learn, the veteran to learn how to write a resume, how to interview. We provide help with them to access their contacts at the VA. We do have case management resources on site, and they become part of the overall community in that step to rehabilitate yourself. And there are a whole host of other that perhaps we can elaborate further, if you like, on
That's
some of the
great.
other programs.
That's fine, thank you. That's it.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes, would you be able to show on your diagram how this project ties into the Greenbelt connection, like how it's retained?
Not presently, because that's still very actively being negotiated. There are actually at least 2 other property owners involved. The Dauphin County General Authority on the north, obviously, and the owner of the remaining property on the south. And, you know, the access road goes across all of those properties. So it's a multi-party negotiation. We've been negotiating in good faith with Doug and Mike, and we'll continue to see if we can get a resolution. You have to remember that this has always been private property, and the Greenbelt has been fortunate to be able to use it. So we want to see if we can continue that compatible with the needs of the private property owners now. You're hearing about an altruistic project that's going to be giving our veterans dignity and security, and we have to deal with those issues also. So it's a complex issue, but we're continuing to work in good faith on it.
I understand. And one other question. It says in the report, well, actually, let me just ask it as a question. Is there a particular reason that the units aren't starting out initially ADA compliant?
They are designed, our prototype are ADA compliant or convertible, let's just say. And as well, one of the issues that we took into consideration in designing the prototype, and we found out through conversation with our veterans, is one of their major concerns is, how is someone going to visit me if they are either in the same condition that I am, or if they are in worse condition than I am? How are they going to come over? So we've created a model where you do have steps. There are steps to the unit, if you can use them, and each unit has a ramp. So it's an ADA compliant ramp that reaches the sidewalk or the grade at the proper slope, that they're able to access the interior of the comfort home if you're visiting. The units in the main building as well, they are ADA compliant. If a veteran comes in, and our kitchens and our design is such where if they need to have on a wheelchair and they need to have the approach to that kitchen, the cabinets can be retrofit. In other words, cabinet can come out, a panel can go in, so that you still have the approach clearances and accessibility to all the cabinetry in the kitchen as well as the bathrooms.
Are accessible.
The doorways are accessible. Each bathroom has clearance, 36-inch clearance minimum to get themselves in. We do not have a swing door in the bathrooms. We've provided, we're designing what we call the sliding door, so that we're able to get in and out. So there is no opportunity if something happens inside the bathroom, we can't get in the bathroom, we still have a sliding door on the outside. It's a barn door, that's what they're called.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Joe?
The 2 questions I have, I think Commissioner Jordan just covered. And so maybe I'll just leave it with those. So thank you for your responses for those. Mine were related to the Greenbelt and to the ADA compliance, but you've answered them. Thank you.
Before I go to the public, Jeff, I think they partially answered what I was going to concern. I know there's property owners down that way and other owners, and how are they, or how are you dealing with that?
So for the most part, I think the at least the applicants I know are working directly with the Greenbelt Association, and I believe that other representatives for the prospective property owner to the south between this site and the VOPA site, and the, I guess, current property owner, because the applicants are contract purchasers, as I understand it, are all in negotiations about where exactly, the footprint of the Greenbelt may go. Our recommendation in the case report was based on the fact that when you look at the site plan provided with the application, the fence that encloses the site is on the east side of the access road that connects both to the Dauphin County General Authority property to the north and then the VOPA property down in the south. So there isn't a fence cutting off access there. So it's still, I guess, in theory, open for public access, and therefore kind of makes a good connection point, and it would require, I guess, the least amount of easement between the bridge and that site. That being said, I think we would be happy to, coordinate with both the applicants and the Greenbelt Association on whatever solution they come up with, whether it goes across the northern end of the site or the southern end of the site or wherever it needs to go. But, as the planning commissioners know, we brought this up at the last development for the VOPA site, that it be included, and it was not included in the final design. And it was our concern that this would be cut off in the future, and not just for the general public, but for residents of both the existing VOPA facility, this proposed facility, and the potential future facility between these two. As the applicants note in their application, most of their residents aren't going to have vehicles. So, we expect that they will want to go out and engage with the community, go out and visit around Harrisburg. And if they're not going to have vehicles, how will they do that? Walking and biking, presumably maybe a shuttle bus or something as well. But if that is the case, they have a ready-made connection right now. And so we want to make sure, because it didn't end up in that last project, that it does end up in this project. And we don't get to the next project, which will be the last one of this property, and it doesn't happen there either. And then all of a sudden we've lost our connection. So Planning Bureau feels very strongly that, that this really needs to be included in a final design, however that may happen. And again, we recognize that this is private property, as the applicant said, but at the same time, it's also, a critical more than 100-year-old portion of the city's infrastructure. And, we just want to make sure that that connection is maintained, however that happens, and in a way that benefits not just the general public, but the residents of each of these developments that's going to be down here in South Harrisburg.
Yeah, if I may follow on, what is currently happening? Is there a gap in the Greenbelt at the present time? Or how is that being rerouted? I have not been down there since the project was completed at VOPA.
Yeah, currently the bridge over the railroad tracks was temporarily closed for construction and utility work to connect to the VOPA site to, I guess, whatever utility stubs were on the Dauphin County General Authority site. And the alternate route goes over Sycamore Street to Cameron Street, and then down Cameron Street to connect to the Greenbelt about at Elliott Street, I think, or just north of that, where there's a truck entryway down to the Greenbelt. But if you've been down there, that's not really a safe place to ride, frankly, for anybody, much less for a child or a senior or something. The grade of the bridge is really high. There's very limited visibility. The sidewalk is almost non-existent. And so, from the Planning Bureau's perspective, that is not a viable long-term solution. And being that there's only one other crossing of the railroad tracks down here in South Harrisburg, we feel that it's really imperative that the connection be maintained.
Right. So, and I think that kind of my concern, we don't want to turn the green belt into a permanent green strip with roundabouts at either end.
Yeah.
It has been there for 100 years. And again, we're being asked to provide a special exception here. So it is kind of the time to talk for a tit for tat. What can we get in return for the public, in return for waiving this item? And I would like to see that in the discussion.
And I don't think that, and again, I don't think that needs to be necessarily decided on today. There will be a follow-up land development plan that Planning Commission and City Council will review. But at the same time, we'd like to not leave that hanging to the last moment. And the sooner it can be hashed out, whatever the solution is, the better, I think.
Right, I guess that's the question, is once we approve this tonight, we've kind of lost our leverage. By the time land development plan comes in with special exception already approved, there's really not much we can do. And I think the evidence of what happened recently, great project, by the way, but is indicative. We let it off that it would be developed and it would be talked about, and it didn't happen. So that's a concern I have.
Just one more thing, Jeff. I'm not sure exactly what this location is, but will the new highway coming through, will that affect it at all? Not the highway, but.
Yeah, it shouldn't. The highway is north of the General Authority, Dauphin County General Authority property. So, aside from maybe more noise, I don't think there will be any physical impacts from the structure of the highway or anything like that. Yeah, it is. Yeah, but there will be, I think, widening, at the very least, off ramps to the south of where the bridge is now, the bridge footprint.
Okay. I'll go to the public now. If you're for or against this project, stand and state your name and address. I'll start in the middle.
Good evening. My name is Doug Hill. I live at 709 Green Street here in Harrisburg, and I am currently president of the Capital Area Greenbelt Association. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. I do appreciate the commentary you've had thus far. I just wanted to add a few things to it, and a little bit additional perspective. And I'll start by saying we are very much supportive of the Tunnel to Towers project. It's something that's critically needed here in the city, and there's certainly serving a population with a distinct need in a unique way, a unique and important way. And so we do hope the project is going to be able to go through. From the perspective of the Greenbelt Association, the Greenbelt's been around for 100 years. The association's been around for about 30, and we've been maintaining the trail for the entirety of the trail over that period of time, including here in the South Harrisburg area. In the South Harrisburg area, we've done a significant amount of grading, maintenance, other improvements over that period of time, as well as ongoing maintenance. Excuse me. I will acknowledge that we are doing it by written permission, but that is the extent of it. It is not a license. It is not an easement. It is not a right-of-way. So it is just by courtesy of the current owners that we occupy that, but it has been a relationship. The couple points I'd like to make. The couple points I'd like to make. First is that both the comp plan talks about the Greenbelt as an important asset of the city and its maintenance as a part of the character of the city and availability of the residents. And then the zoning ordinance itself as a part of its objectives talks about completing the Greenbelt. And this is one of the last couple privately owned properties where we don't have a clear license or easement agreement. And so as you pointed out, this is the time to get this resolved with some permanence. It is accurate that we have been engaged in good faith discussions on multiple occasions, in person, email, and otherwise, and we've exchanged sketches and so on. We are confident that we can continue on that route and hopefully find something that's going to work. With your permission, Mr. Chairman, we have a sketch that we did based on the sketch plan that was submitted to you. If we could distribute that to you, if that would be helpful. Okay, I have a couple of other folks from our board who are here that will do that while I talk. I don't want to take too much time, but on that plan, we have shown you in red the historic route of the Greenbelt. And when you get it, you will see that it does go diagonally right across the property, and obviously can't continue to exist in its current configuration. And so then what we've shown as an alternative is in green, and that is to continue as the city described in their analysis, to continue along the emergency access route and then go along the southern boundary of the Tunnel to Towers property and connect again up at the railroad bridge. You also see the little stub by the railroad bridge, which is what Mr. Grossman referred to. The third property owner would also have to be involved ultimately in that rerouting. But we're pleased to submit that to you because it acknowledges that the plan, the sketch plan that they've done, including its configuration and the configuration of the fencing, would be able to accommodate the green belt in this kind of a configuration, would be able to maintain it in a way that has the best ecological perspective as well as the best continuity and the least public danger compared to, for example, the detour that we have right now out on Sycamore Street. The other couple benefits that have been mentioned in the report, and we'll emphasize too, are that it does provide pedestrian access for the residents of Tunnel to Towers, but also the emergency access road extends the whole way down to Veterans Grove, and so can also provide pedestrian access for them as well as the intervening property when that becomes developed. Right now, the Veterans Grove does not have specific dedicated public access other than walking on the new roadway. It also, we would argue, has therapeutic value. To have a recreational opportunity right outside your gate is something that we think would be beneficial to the residents of Tunnel to Towers. And it also, as I mentioned, provides access for Eden and for VOPA for their residents to, well, the intervening property, to have access up to city amenities, including the bus stop up at the PennDOT building, as well as to the city generally. In that respect, then, I think I would say we support the recommendations as they are made in the conditions expressed in the city report for Tunnel to Towers to continue their discussion with us and to arrive at a solution comparable to what's described in the city report. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are anyone else in the center or against the project? If not, I'll go to my right. Is there anyone for or against the project?
Hi, I'm John Hickey. I live at 3901 Pam A. Drive in Mechanicsburg. I'm on the board of Veterans Outreach of Pennsylvania. I'm here with our chair, Tom, and another of our board members, and we did want to express our support for the project. Our project is really more driven as a therapeutic model, so we're going to take people more in, almost like intensive therapy. And it will be really good for us to have a place for them to sort of graduate to, a phase 2, right next door. A lot of the things that we'll be doing, we've already been talking with Tunnel to Towers quite a bit about how we might coordinate and collaborate in the future. So we think this is a really good opportunity for us to extend what we're doing and make Harrisburg recognized nationally. Again, you look at the other cities that we're talking about, Atlanta, Houston. These are, you know, Harrisburg being on that list, I think, is a feather in your cap. So we did want to express our support.
Okay, thank you. If there's no one else from the public, I'll come back to the commissioners. Before I get to the commissioners, I want everyone to know that we are not opposed to it. I think we're all for it. And as a matter of fact, I'm a veteran myself, so I think a great project. But we have to do this to make sure you work with the community and all the other people involved. So that's why we're asking you these questions. Commissioners, any other?
Yeah, one question, Joffrey. Is this being subdivided from the larger property, or is it a different owner than the one previously that they had dealt with on the BOPA project?
It will. The existing property, as noted, is 15 acres, but eventually, as part of the land development plan, they'll have a subdivision component, and they will be, I think, purchasing 8.5 acres of the 15-acre property, leaving 6.5 between the two developments for a future project.
Right. But was this originally a portion of the other property? Was this one larger
Yes,
contiguous?
it was at one point 20 acres.
Okay,
Everything
okay.
south of the Dauphin County General
Okay.
Authority.
And if I may, it was originally all one parcel, including the PennDOT property.
Right.
It was put together by some people named Alex Grass and Ollie Rosenberg.
Back in the day, yeah.
Never heard of them.
Never heard of them. So, yeah, I guess that's the one question. I'm just trying to understand the role of that property owner on the remaining piece within all of this. I mean, she was willing to let them use it all the years, but now that we're into either, I don't know whether there's a profit to be made on any of this sale truly at the end of the day by their estate or that side, or it's simply a, trying to move the property in a more beneficial use, and it's not really our purview here to be worried about that. But I guess the question then it comes back to, what are the tough points? Is it insurance to establishing a route, whether it's something like what's being shown on the sketch that we were handed? What would make it difficult in your mind to establish this route and allow it to be a right-of-way easement on your property?
For this to work?
What will be your property once you purchase it?
There's been extensive discussions with the Dauphin County General Authority and the state that leases the land from the General Authority, whether they need all of that parking lot, for instance. And if it could be along the edge of their parking lot, that's already semi-public use, if you will, rather than on private property. And the state has, my understanding through Mr. Beneventano's response was that the state was not cooperating. So there's some big players here that they're all digging in their heels.
But again, I'm trying to understand the downside of an easement or right-of-way for a bicycle path. I mean, there are a lot of rails to trails that are created all over the country. I don't see this as being terribly different from that. I'm just trying to understand, there's obviously something that I'm not aware of, and maybe the commissioners have a better idea, that why this can't be negotiated out relatively easily, even to the point that it could have been a solution tonight, knowing the phenomenal work you brought in and so on and so forth.
There are a multitude of issues, really, and security is a major factor when you have residential communities of significantly less able people. These are fragile people, and VOPA has the benefit of being further away from it intentionally, and we have to be frank. There's always been evidence, for instance, of drug usage on this portion of the Greenbelt down by the river and so forth, and that's a potential problem, and it has to be addressed one way or the other. So security is a vital issue. I wouldn't say it's the only issue, but it's a vital issue.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just the reality of the difficulty is that it's multiple private landowners. This board can't impose a condition on a property next door, even though the Greenbelt's crossed multiple properties. That's the reality of it. So this only gets resolved in two ways. Get resolved by an agreement, gets resolved by a government taking. Those are the two ways to resolve this problem. And everybody is looking for an agreement on a government taking.
Sure.
So.
Help me out, Joffrey, another thing. On the PennDOT building there, is that at this point they have revoked the right of passage across that state property?
No,
I believe
they still
that's
have,
what I think you're saying, this our solicitor suggesting.
No, there's still the access along the riverfront portion of that property where the current greenbelt runs now and then connects to what is essentially the emergency access road here. And I have not been in any conversations with either the county or the state on this, but from what I understand, they're not necessarily looking to, kind of to the applicant's point, they're not looking to expand the footprint, the public access footprint beyond what's there now.
Mhm. So what we have is we have a public parcel that we're allowing public access across to the north.
Correct.
Okay. And so we're now talking about a private entity that's developing, and they're asking for special treatment. Good, again, a very good cause, special treatment in the processing of a special exception. And there doesn't seem to be any reciprocity, to the city, to the community's request here.
Yeah, again, I think the planning commissioners know where the planning bureau stands on this. We feel that, that this, again, Greenbelt is one of the city's best jewels that we have here, and this point is a critical connection. And so however that needs to be maintained, we will strongly support that. Again, that could be running across the parking lot, as the applicant said. It doesn't sound like maybe the state's open to that, but I think to your point, it seems like this is a relatively straightforward kind of thing about having an easement to have a short stretch of this. I think to the applicant's point about drug use, and I don't know, I can't speak to the veracity of that statement, but I think for whatever that was there or whatever other concerns were there were largely due to the undeveloped nature of this property, and between the existing Veterans Grove property, this proposed property, and then whatever is coming down the road for the property to the south, much of whatever created adverse conditions there will go away because all of the property will be not only occupied and developed, but largely gated too. And so it won't be an issue of there's, large swaths of unsurveilled area where maybe, stuff happened in the past.
Nefariousness, yeah.
And so I think, again, it's our hope that, to Mr. Grover's point, that this is negotiated out amicably between all the parties, and that at the end of the day, we maintain this connection.
Okay. So as a commission, we could strengthen the language that's been suggested in the report. And, please.
I did see a should before the continued coordination. I think we're all extremely hopeful about the continued coordination. We could change that to, it's still just coordination, but a shall or something like that. Or, is that what you mean?
I'm looking for some way to encourage, and if, that happened before a land development plan comes back and again does what happened previously. And all I know is living downtown, the drug use on River Alley behind my home and location, the drug use in South Street, the shootings on Chestnut and Second at 2:30 in the morning. I would venture that it's probably safer down there than it is in downtown Harrisburg. After living there for 30 years, it's sad to be making that statement. So I'm having a tougher time accepting that as the only reason that this can't happen. Well, I think the condition, I could certainly support it if we can make some modifications to the recommended condition, which was, wherever I put it here. Yes, sir.
So it is a little different from another project. These are treatment facilities. There's that nuance.
No, and I think it's two tough situations that are running into one another, and we just want to see that it really happens, that there's an amicable situation. We've sat here I've been on the commission for 27 years, and how many times we've been promised that people will provide parking by entering into agreement with the city parking authority, which I also chair, so I know a little bit about that. and only to find that it didn't happen. How many other things we've asked for because we don't have the administrative depth and resources to follow up on things. And I'd like to just see more teeth in this, you know, and again, don't want to stop the project, but is it right here? Thank you. Let's see. Continue coordination. I would say change that to shall coordinate with the Greenbelt. Take those 3 words out and the whole thing probably works.
And speaking of the Greenbelt, there was a gentleman with his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Would you recognize him? I would cede my.
Okay, yes.
Hi, Doug Hill again, and thank you for letting me respond to a couple of points that were made. First, I'm troubled by the representation that there's drug use as a rampant thing on the Greenbelt. I think your point was well made. We aren't going to be Pollyannish and say there isn't anything happening anywhere along the Greenbelt, but we do know statistically from our monitoring over the years that we have very, very few incidents, documented incidents anywhere in use of the Greenbelt. It is used by our public as a recreational facility. It's family use, it's people getting to work, it's every bit of active transportation. And so I think it's unfair to characterize that area or any area as a drug use area, number one. Number two, the plan, we haven't seen the fence specifically that's proposed, but it is on the plan a 6-foot aluminum fence. So I presume that is certainly a physical barrier and possibly even a visibility barrier. And so I think that resolves some of the issues. Third, one of the proposals that we had previously discussed was to go along the northern border through the PennDOT lot and then across the eastern border of the Tunnel to Towers property. So we would still have been traversing 2 boundaries. We're proposing the western and southern rather than the northern and the eastern. Last, and this is an important point for you, as we've been progressing through these discussions, we did do our due diligence and took the proposal to the Dauphin County General Authority, asking for their view of us coming through the parking lot and going in that direction. There are some engineering issues with that. We'll set that aside. But they very flatly, as a board action, said that we would not be given permission to go anywhere else on their property other than the corridor that we already have under license agreement. And that's the piece that goes from the Phoenix Park along the river side of the building and connects to the property line for Tunnel to Towers. Thank you.
Jeff, did you add the change?
I've made a note of it, but I was waiting on a vote from the planning commission.
Okay,
Yeah.
You did get that.
I did make a note of it, yes.
Could I add on to that a little bit?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And I'm throwing this out for discussion. So on point number 3, if it was changed to the applicant will coordinate with the Capital Area Greenbelt Association regarding the retention of the Greenbelt across the property, to retain a recreational amenity for the community at large, so on and so forth, with that language. Okay.
Again, did we just restate that again?
Sure. The applicant will coordinate with the Capital Area Greenbelt Association regarding the retention of the Greenbelt across the property to retain a recreational amenity for the community at large. And then the rest of the sentence as it's already written. That sounds good. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Before,
okay.
any other comments from the commissioners? Okay.
I would ask your solicitor what that means. What is the obligation of the applicant pursuant to that language?
I don't know. So that's the
With
answer.
all due respect, I say that not to frustrate the commission, but shall coordinate versus continue to coordinate. It's in the condition, we're going to do it. And as counsel, I'm just worried about who's to judge that and who's to say we didn't do it. Do you understand my frustration, Commissioner? To continue negotiations, certainly we accept.
I guess I would probably, I could amend that language to strengthen it then. The applicant shall coordinate with them to retain. That's real simple. I think that's the intent that we're trying for.
I would suggest that that would be imposing a
Government taking
condition
on them that the city of Harrisburg have to pay for.
Okay.
That's what you're talking about. That becomes a taking at that moment,
So
right?
the alternative, if that's not workable, would be just to deny this tonight.
That's an alternative, and that's
And
within
they
your.
can come back after they have sorted that out.
Well, again, this is a variant special exception. It still goes on to zoning. It's up to your recommendation to zoning is that. I have no idea what their solicitor will see this as. I mean, that's frankly, you know, I just don't know how they're going to look at it.
Sure.
So.
There's no way we can address it in the land development plan.
No, it's too late.
I mean, I think it's not too late to address it in the land development plan. Right now, it doesn't show up here now anyway, if the same project
But if a
was brought
special
before.
exception's given,
Right.
they don't have to do it unless it's shown as part of the of the intent here.
Well, even if we have the language in there, open to the solicitor, they still have to go to the zoning.
Right, that's what I'm saying. The zoning this is a recommendation to zoning. What I'm saying, if the city of Harrisburg, and remember, you're an advisory committee to the city of Harrisburg and to the council, and if the city is putting a shell in front of something that actually has a tooth to it about your land, we've now impaired your rights to your land, and ultimately there can be an application for having to pay for that. That's the simple reality of it. What this project needs is an excellent mediator. That's what it needs. You know, I think a lot of people have tried in this effort. I think everyone involved can attest to. There's been people trying to come to a solution, and it is a challenge. I can't tell you why it's a challenge, other than you hear no a lot. That's what you hear.
All right, and I guess just to go on that end, what the exposure that the city would have would be based upon the impacted piece of land relative to the purchase price, right?
I would say so. Whether
So
in
if
fact,
it's a $500,000 piece of property and 5% of it's impacted, that's a $25,000 impact. I mean, that's
well,
not real numbers,
that's someone's decision. I don't know who they're having.
it might be a court or something,
Right.
but yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's, I think, way, 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 way down the road, and there's lots of land between here and there. I'm just telling you, that's the difficulty of it, right? I mean, I think you should know that. I think the zoning board should know that. The council may say, let's do exactly that, right? But I'm just saying, the Greenbelt is 100 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what its roots were for 100 years, but it really matters what its root was and how long this has been that root. I don't know if, I know the parties have their views of what the people's rights are. Those owners changed over time.
Sure.
It doesn't mean anyone lost a right if everyone ever had one. If one had one 80 years ago or 70 years ago, I just don't think anyone wants to go down that path legally. But that's the kind of stuff they litigated for Marcellus Shale, right? Like what land rights existed back then, because they don't just go away if they're not properly transferred. So, you know, and I know Bruce has dug in deep into these documents, and so it's a long history. So I believe you'll get to an agreement. I just don't know. It'll be probably one everyone hates. You know, that'll be how, you know, everyone got their interest taken care of. So,
But if we pass this through, even in, as you cause maybe a taking.
not.
But I mean,
it's not going to be your vote that does that.
Type of that, it takes this issue forward to zoning, tells them what we think.
Yes, I think.
And then this ultimately, we may be setting the stage for council to take some of the $12 million in leftover AIR money, or whatever the case is, to solve the Greenbelt's issue once and for all. And if we just approve this tonight, that doesn't get that hearing and pushed forward.
I can't say either way that, you know, because the same arguments are going to be made at zoning, I think, by everybody. So I just don't know how they're going to treat it. That's gonna be the issue.
I think we should keep your wording and as I said, it's gotta go to zoning, so they can argue that.
They can argue it there and we'll
This
listen
is
to them.
our suggestion. So with that, that's my thoughts. Keep the changes in.
So just to be clear, you want me to use the language that Commissioner Jordan referenced?
I think it needs, like I said, I think they pointed out maybe that we needed to strengthen that language a little bit more to shall coordinate and take out the other words that are in that beginning of the sentence.
Okay.
The applicant shall coordinate with the Greenbelt Association. That's a
Okay.
condition of this special exception approval.
Commissioner, with all due respect, that's just not gonna get you any further than continue to coordinate. I know no difference, sir.
Well, I beg to differ, but that's my motion.
Yeah, it's up
That's your
to-
privilege.
It's up to the commissioners now, you hate you say. So, any other comments from the commissioners? Sean? Okay. And then we're ready for a vote on this project.
Second to the.
So just to be clear.
That's my motion.
Motion,
Yeah,
okay. Oh, I'm
I made the motion, yeah. You can blame it on me. Broad
Motion
shoulders.
is made to approve this project with the conditions.
And who seconded? Did you
As
second?
amended.
I'll second it.
And you second it?
Yeah.
Okay. Been moved and second for approval of the project with the conditions. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carried.
Again, I do hope you can work something out, because it's a great project, and the alignment is phenomenal.
Okay, we're on item number 4. This is a subdivision application for 1529 South 13th Street. The zone residential medium density is filed by Jean-Ann and Jim Spanago. To separate the existing parcels into 3 individual lots for each of the 3 residents on site. Are they
I'll
here?
wait till they get up here.
Jeff, are they here?
Yeah.
Are they here?
Yeah, they're just waiting to get up here, yeah.
I thought they were all together.
That was the big one. So they weren't here for the subdivision.
Zoning downplay that, or put this together? Something here that hung up. Or handed.
Okay, so for our final case here, the subdivision for 1529 South 13th Street, the applicants are proposing to subdivide or to separate the existing parcel into 3 individual lots for each of the 3 residences on site. The property at 1529 South 13th Street is a .12 acre parcel featuring 3 separate structures. 1523 and 1525 South 13th Street are 1,092 square foot structures constructed in 1957, whereas 1529 South 13th Street is a 1,395 square foot structure constructed in 1964. The subject property is bounded by South 13th Street to the north, the Cameron Parkway portion of the Capillary Greenbelt to the east and south, and the property at 1531 South 13th Street to the west. Structure at 1523 South 13th Street is a 2-story detached structure featuring elements of a Cape Cod architectural style. Character-defining features include the various facade treatments including vinyl siding and brick, the large divided light window, and the mirrored dormers in the gable roof. The main entrance features a solid paneled door with 2 small panes fronted by a 3/4 view storm door. It is accessed by a concrete pathway and steps. Fenestration also includes a large divided light oriel window and side-by-side 1/1 windows flanking the main entrance on the front elevation. The side eastern elevation features 5 windows. The 2 dormers are clad in vinyl siding and appear to feature 6/6 windows. The roof is clad in asphalt shingles. The Property primarily features a maintained grass lawn with a mature pine tree in the side yard. A short driveway accesses a small parking pad on site. The structure 1525 South 13th Street is a two-story detached structure featuring elements of a mid-century vernacular architectural style. Character-defining features include the split-level configuration with basement garage, the varied facade treatment including vinyl siding and brick, and the asymmetric window pattern. The main entrance features a solid door with 3 small horizontal panes fronted by a 3/4 view storm door. It is accessed by a concrete pathway and steps to both the sidewalk and driveway. Garage features a wooden roll-down door with a row of windows. Fenestration also includes a plate glass window flanked by divided light double-hung windows and several other windows on the front elevation. The gable roof is clad in asphalt shingles. Property primarily features a small yard enclosed with a short hedgerow with several mature pine trees. A short driveway accesses the basement garage bay. Finally, the structure at 1529 South 13th Street is a two-story detached structure featuring elements of a mid-century vernacular architectural style. Character-defining features include the split-level configuration with basement garage, the varied facade treatment including vinyl siding and brick, and the asymmetric window pattern. The main entrance features a solid panel door fronted by a 3/4 view storm door. It is accessed by a concrete pathway and steps to the sidewalk. Garage features a wooden roll-down door with a row of windows. Fenestration also includes a plate glass window flanked by divided light double-hung windows and 3 other 1/1 windows on the front elevation. There are 5 total sliding windows on the 2 side elevations. The gable roof is clad in asphalt shingles. The property primarily features a maintained grass lawn with 2 mature pine trees in the front yard. Taken together, the structures have limited architectural and historic value, and they differ significantly from the attached row home and semi-detached structures to the north. Thus, they do not contribute to the architectural character of the streetscape and neighborhood. The Planning Bureau staff recommends the request be approved for the following reasons. The proposed subdivision will create individual lots, which are all in conformance with the applicable zoning regulations regarding use, development standards, and off-street parking. And the proposal will advance in a minor manner the goals of the city's comprehensive plan through the creation of individual residential lots, which are more viable as homeownership opportunities than the current lot configuration.
Thank you, Jeff. Could you state your name, address, and relationship to the project?
Sure. My name is Allison Hanna from Pannoni Associates. We are the surveyor and engineer that prepared the plans for you. And the address of Pannoni is 5070 Ritter Road, Mechanicsburg. And the applicants are to my left.
I'm Jean Spagnuolo.
Address.
My address now? 1 Goldcrest Place, Harrisburg, PA.
Jim Spagnola, 1806 Briar Creek Lane, Middletown, son.
Okay. Everyone heard the staff report. Actually, there's no
No conditions.
no conditions, so I guess you're acceptable of those. Did you want to add anything to the report?
No, nothing to add.
Okay. Only question I had when I looked at this picture, it looks like one house not separated. Is that, or is there 2 houses?
There's a total of 3 homes. My grandfather had purchased the 2 homes on the right, the 2 brick structures. And then at some point, I don't remember when, 60s, my grandfather gave my mother and father the lot to the left where the Yellow Cape Cod is. So you have the Yellow Cape Cod, I think, on its own separate parcel technically. The other 2 homes on the right, when my grandfather purchased it, he purchased it from the builder, and those 2 lots were on one deed for some reason. It's never subdivided then.
But the actual structure, they're separate.
3 separate
Three separate.
single-family homes,
Okay.
correct.
Because looking on here, it looks like it's just one house.
There's 3 separate single-family homes, correct.
Okay. Commissioners, that's all I have for this. And if you have any concerns or questions, and I'll start with Commissioner McKenzie.
No, I was just trying to figure out, and you explained it, how it ended up as
Yeah, it's like,
3 houses on one piece of land.
Commissioner O'Toole.
Yeah, like Vern, my question was, how did this ever happen? And I guess had these houses never been sold in the past, but now I get it. So,
Yeah, and something happened, when was that, in the mid-80s, where the city they were 3 separate parcel numbers. Somehow in the mid-80s, the city combined them all into one parcel.
All right.
so it's a little confusing. That's just what-
We'll correct that tonight.
but-
So, just to, for your information, if you're getting one parcel number off the county website, that is not a reliable source. Because they will, when people will say they're gonna subdivide, the county office will immediately reduce it to one parcel. So you have to go look at the deed.
Yeah,
So the deeds would have the parcel number. You're saying there's not one deed.
there was technically two deeds, I believe, one for the Cape Cod on the left, and then one deed for the two brick single-family structures. And those are the ones I'm trying to subdivide out and just get it all straightened out at this point.
I think what Mr. Grover is referencing is the county reflects both lot consolidations and deed consolidations in the same manner, which is a problem I've had with them and expressed to them many, many, many times, because it causes confusion like this, and they have not addressed it.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner Reed,
No questions?
Commissioner Jordan,
No questions.
and Joe.
No questions or concerns.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public for or against this project? I guess no one's here. Yeah, this is pretty straightforward. I just wanted to clear that up because I was thinking, this is one house, are you gonna tear the wall down? Yeah, you know, like, anyways. Commissioners, can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there a second? It's been moved and second for approval of this project. All those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Good luck.
Did you second that?
Thank you.
Did you second that?
Thank you.
Who seconded that? Oh, okay. I
Thank
knew
you.
it came up from over there.
I'm glad this is a lot easier.
Which way you want it?
Yeah, you saw that.
Tangentially related, yes.
Very short.
A floating pad.
Is
Jeff?
Spagnola Way part of the Greenbelt? Over by Paxton Street, is that part of the Greenbelt? It's a reference to Spagnola Way, over by like Paxton Street, the Greenbelt that crosses off, is that part of the same Greenbelt?
Yeah, there's the Paxton Parkway that's north of Paxton Street and connects up to Market Street. And then there's a small section by the Five Senses Garden to the south. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
Spagnola Way, just
Yeah.
south of that. That's, I think, like an eastern part of the Cameron Parkway. This is
Okay.
labeled as the
Cameron,
Cameron Parkway on our maps, yeah.
Okay. Thank you all.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Jeff, do you have anything?
Nope, that's it from my perspective. I'd like to, I guess I'd just like to thank the planning commissioners on the Greenbelt aspect. Again, I know it's a big project. I know it's not gonna get resolved here one way or the other, what happens. But, you know, I can see this getting kicked down to the last project, and then the last developer is not gonna wanna do it and say, why do I have to do it and not them? I think to the commissioners, the point, like, it frankly shouldn't be as complicated as it is.
An element outside the room.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right. But,
I would say that's accurate.
but that being said, yeah, that being said, in my conversations with CAGA, they have, I think, expressed more optimism that they're closer to getting a solution than they maybe were 6 months ago. Yeah. Mm.
He was the chair of the planning commission. A banquet shop, you got both parties. And he just, yeah.
Let's just get there.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Anything for the good of the water commissioners? Not, could I get a motion for adjournment? Is there a second?
Second.
Stand adjourned.
All right, thanks, guys.